I'd like to go ahead and invite our chime to sing, and this is just such a wonderful way of arriving. And so let's do that. Let's arrive. Welcome everyone. This is Recovery Dharma, and my name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha, and I'd like to share with you a beautiful sentiment of metta. This is one of the things we do before almost every meeting. These are little hand-painted cards that Sangha members make. And I don't think they mean to make them into wee pieces like this. What they do, what Sangha members have done, is they've sent me canvases or they've sent me cards, and then I promptly chop them up into these little tiny pieces. And I say that because it's like a warning. If you're going to send me a card that you hand make and I love it, I'm going to chop it up just so's you know. And then on the back I write these sentiments of metta, loving kindness. And loving kindness is one of the four limitless qualities that we are invited to cultivate in a Buddhist practice. This one, this card, was made by our wonderful Sangha member, Sean C., who is here today. And what I really love about this card is it's splattered on the back too, so it's like a twofer. I just love it. And this sentiment of metta reads, "May you grow rooted like trees. May you grow rooted like trees." And let's just take a moment to invite that image into your body and into your mind, and maybe the strength of a well-rooted tree into that heart space, so you can feel solid and secure. And I would encourage you to consider feeling solid and secure, not necessarily because you're doing so well, not necessarily because you have this whole recovery thing nailed down, but instead because you're a whole living being. And there are aspects of you that are nailed down. You're getting it. It's fabulous. And there are aspects of you, of me, that still need some work. And those aspects that still need to work, one of the things that I'm doing and I endeavor to do with this practice is to approach that work with a gentle effort, a wise effort, wise actions, brave actions, as opposed to what I've done in the past, which is to whip myself into shape, hammer and belabor specific flaws, try to chip away at them to create this perfect me. And instead now I'm simply trying to allow the whole of me to be present, anchored, strong. On Wednesdays, friends, we have been exploring Zen masters. And for the month of January in our Recovery Dharma practices, we've been exploring the Four Noble Truths. And we started studying the work of Shantideva, an 8th century monk who was truly this radical thinker, this exceptional critical thinker in India. And his work has been gathered and interpreted and studied over all of these centuries. And what I find so amazing about his work is how relevant it is today. There are a lot of cultural references to what he is discussing, but the essence of his spiritual practice, the essence of his wisdom, sings our very modern bones. And so we've been reviewing his work, and we've been reviewing the first chapter, all about the cultivation of bodhicitta, this wise heart, this harmonized heart and mind. And so what I've done is I've read a couple of his verses. Today I'm going to read 3. They're all kind of connected. And then I've offered my perspective, my interpretation of how these sentiments are alive in me. It's really important that you all know I'm no expert of Shantideva by any stretch of the imagination. I have studied Shantideva a little bit, more than a lot and not nearly as much as others. My motivation for bringing this work forward is to simply share with you how this wisdom is alive in me. And I think one of the things that as I was thinking about this today, one of the things that came forward that makes a Buddhist practice really unique, especially in the realm of recovery, compared to traditional approaches, is the Buddhist practice is all about not taking what works for you and leaving the rest. It's about taking it all in and seeing what comes alive and seeing how you are activated, positive, negative, neutral, and work with that. And the reason why that is a foundation for this practice is the Buddha recognized that as human beings, we have a propensity to go after the things that resonate with us, that make us feel happy, that are pleasant. And we have a habit energy of avoiding those things that we don't like. And so this notion of take what works for you and leave the rest, for me, is a cautionary note. Because I know that if given the chance, what I'm going to take is only the stuff that makes me feel good, reinforces my biases and prejudices, and keeps me locked in a particular way of believing or perspective. And if I leave the rest, I may be missing some gems that could really stir up something new and fresh. So the Buddhist practice is take it all in and see what comes alive in you. So let me read these 3 verses. And if you're following along, the book that we are reading, let me show you, is Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And we are in chapter 1. This is interpreted by Geshe Kelsang Gyatso. And we are looking at verses 31, 32, and 33. For anybody who's new today, the word bodhicitta, again, it is, if you can imagine, bodhicitta is this place within you that is incorruptible, timeless. It is the harmonization of what you know, what you feel, and the wisdom that speaks through you. Pema Chodron referred to bodhicitta as the soft, wounded heart. And there's something within that place, within us, within our experience, that when we can allow its voice, it speaks with impeccable compassion. It recognizes that whatever wounding we've experienced, whatever harm and hurt and ache we have, so has every other human being. And that level of compassion calls us to action. And the action is to examine our own habit energy so we quit creating the conditions for pain and harm. And then by extension, we offer it to others. That is the way of the bodhisattva, the person who intentionally wants to alleviate suffering and misery in others. But it begins right here at home with us. Shantideva writes, if even someone who repays a kindness is worthy of some praise, what can be said of the bodhisattva who helps others regardless of whether or not they help him or her? If someone regularly, or even just once, gives food in a disdainful manner, which satisfies a few beings for only half a day, people honor him or her as virtuous. So what can be said of one who eternally gives to countless living beings the everlasting, unsurpassed bliss of the Sugatas, fulfilling all their wishes? Sugata is a word for a highly achieved, highly accomplished Buddha type person. Shantideva is sharing with us a cultural perspective. Remember, 8th century India. And in this way, what he's sharing about the Bodhisattva is predicated on the Buddhist perspective of rebirth. That an enlightened being can choose to come back and alleviate suffering. A person, an enlightened being, puts off the blissful state of nirvana and Buddhahood to come back into the trenches of being a human, to help alleviate suffering, to help people wake up to the conditions of their lives. For me, this perspective is highly externalized. A way out there kind of person. Somebody that I can't even foresee achieving. A person who is so accomplished, so vast in their understanding, so beyond the beyond, that I will never achieve that. And that feels kind of icky to think about for me. It feels really unobtainable. And there's a little adolescent, there's an immature part of my ego that when I encounter that feeling, I'm like, well, I'll never achieve that, so why bother? What's the point? I'm never going to be a bodhisattva. I'm never going to be a Buddha. So I might as well just go back to the way I've always been. It's familiar, it's comfortable. And you know, this same immature ego is the same voice that says, I'm never going to be able to abstain from my habit energy. Here I go again, having another craving, another temptation, another round of obsessive thinking and attachment. I might as well just go back. I'm worthless. Here I am again doing the same old stuff. I give up. And then I remember that the Buddha spent a lot of time alone. And he spent a lot of time touching the earth and gazing into the cosmos. And in the Satyaseva practices that we teach here at Soul Center, there are two spiritual practices called the mindfulness of openness and the mindfulness of space. And these are all motivated to help the mind externalize, look out. Yes, get into that daunted, overwhelmed posture. To look at the cosmos is to recognize that in our Milky Way alone, there are somewhere between 100 and 400 billion stars. And to look out into the vast universe, there are 2 trillion galaxies. It's an unknowable thing. I'm never going to be able to travel through the universe. I'm never going to be able to know all there is to know about it. And the point of standing before all of that not knowing, to stand before what isn't reachable, graspable, isn't to fall prey to the immature ego that just gives up in apathy. It is to stand in a posture of strength and humility and awe and wonder and beauty. That this whole giant thing called the universe has evolved over billions and billions of years so that in this moment, you and me are here having this conversation. There are 8 billion people on the planet, most of whom I'm never going to meet. I'm never going to hear their voice. I'm never going to be able to smile at them. I'm never going to be able to notice their shoes or their jewelry or their crooked teeth. But 50 people or so are here today. And that's amazing. So while I may not be able to grasp what's all out there, I come back to the present moment, to us, Buddhas to be, Bodhisattvas in training. And ask this simple question. What do you want to do with your precious human life? Right here, right now. With all of our flaws and fumbles, with all of our mistakes and misdeeds, how can we begin to restructure, reframe, reshape our relationship to ourselves, the mind, the body, the heart, the spirit, so that we can cultivate these limitless qualities of loving kindness, compassion, joy, equanimity, let it all in, so that we can ignite the passion of generosity, the curiosity about aversion, attachment, to remember that Shantideva was speaking poetically. And he was sharing with us the wonderment, the invitation to be a vehicle of healing and an instrument of peace. So specifically going to his verses, recognizing that there are people in the world who do good deeds and they expect the praise. They seek it. But what about the person who quietly goes along, neither seeking praise nor scorn, but just doing actions, just efforting in such a way that they have a motivation to be healing, to be loving? So this begs the question, what motivates your acts of kindness? What motivates your acts of generosity? Praise matters, by the way. We all need to be encouraged. It's an important thing to have. Shantideva is encouraging us and reminding us that we can, each of us, be that source of encouragement for ourselves and for one another. We don't always have to externalize it. You can be the voice of the encouragement you seek. In the final verses that I read of Shantideva, it seems to me that Shantideva is speaking about, again, poetically, these externalized, perfected beings who are devoted to eternally dispelling the misery of the world, alleviating suffering. And I would simply invite us to look out there at the unattainable. Be awe-inspired by it. And then come back to the moment. Come back to you as you are, Buddha to be. And what are you in it for? Praise? Fame? Wealth? What do we gain by repeating the same old discordant stories? I'm terrible, I'm worthless, I'm no good. And how instead can we look at those stories, bring forward our Buddha nature, our bodhicitta, and say, hey, wait a second. I am part of this great universal evolution. I'm here. My life is so precious and so rare. I am of value. I am a being worth healing and care. And may the care I offer to myself extend to all living beings. And friends, this includes your houseplants, your pets, your favorite tree in your neighborhood. It extends to your family and friends and strangers on the street. And as you go along your day, your weeks, your month, your healing, and should all the praise go away, should all the recognition go away, Shantideva is saying, asking us, at least me, he's asking me as I read his words, Julia, should all the praise, should all the recognition, all the good jobs, all the we love this Sangha, should it all go away, would you still show up to this precious practice and your life? Would it matter? For me, the answer is a resounding yes. Your precious human life, the trauma, the hurt, the darkness, is sistered by your light, your beauty, your magnificence. Both make the whole of who you are. And the whole of who you are is here. In this beautiful, precious moment. Breathing it in, breathing it out. Buddhas to be. It's good. So just a little light. And just to keep in mind that not only are you lighting that warmth, that tenderness for me and for my daughter and my family, but by extension to, just think about locally here in Spokane, everybody in the hospital. And there's several hospitals. And then all of you, where all of you are in the world. And the hospitals there. I mean, there's just so many people we can wrap in our light of warmth and presence and intention. And that's living the Bodhisattva way. It is anything that we can do to minimize the misery in the world. And it is as simple as having a single moment of intention that says, breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, may all living beings be at ease. For just this moment. And that's enough. Thank you so much for your beautiful practice, friends. We'll see you tomorrow. Namaste.